Why do some dreams stay with us forever, as if etched into our bones? You wake up breathless. Your chest rises too fast. Your palms damp. There's no danger in the room, yet the unease clings to you like a second skin. You sit up in bed, disoriented, the image still burning at the edge of your mind. A hallway you've never seen, yet it feels familiar. A man at the end, watching. His face, blurred, but not unknown, like the face of a memory you were never supposed to forget. Was it just a dream? And yet, it lingers. It clings. Not like a memory, but like a secret trying to surface. It haunts you throughout the day, showing up behind your eyelids when you blink too long. A whisper trapped in a cathedral, echoing through chambers of your psyche that your waking mind rarely enters. Most people dismiss their dreams. We chalk them up to stress, or too much coffee, or leftover impressions from that late-night movie. The cultural narrative says dreams are the brain's filing cabinet, sorting, discarding, shredding irrelevant fragments of yesterday. But what if that's not true? What if dreams aren't just byproducts of neural maintenance? What if they are messages, delivered in code, by a deeper, older intelligence that lives inside us? Carl Jung didn't just believe this, he lived it. He saw dreams not as noise, but as signal, not as illusions, but invitations. Each one, he said, is a doorway into the unconscious. And if we dare walk through it, we might meet someone we've spent our whole lives running from, ourselves. Specifically, the part we never talk about. The part we pretend isn't there. The part he called the shadow. The shadow isn't what we think it is. It's not a villain hiding in the dark corners of our mind, waiting to leap out and ruin our lives. It's not evil. It's not wrong. It's not even unusual. The shadow is simply everything we've repressed, pushed out of view because the world told us it was too much, too ugly, or too dangerous. It's the anger we weren't allowed to feel as children, the jealousy we were told was shameful, the desires we buried so we could be good, but it's also the ambition we denied, the courage we withheld, and the wild creativity we sacrificed to fit in. The shadow is your unlived life. And here's the thing, when we're awake, we can avoid it. We can hide behind smiles, routines, busyness. But when we sleep, all masks fall away. In dreams, the shadow speaks the loudest, because that's when we're finally quiet enough to hear it. Have you ever dreamed of hurting someone and woke up in a panic, wondering what's wrong with you? Have you seen yourself doing things in a dream that you'd never do in waking life? Cheating, screaming, running, burning things down. That wasn't fantasy. That wasn't random. That was the shadow knocking, whispering, "I'm still here." Sometimes its voice is violent or terrifying. Other times it's subtle, a recurring stranger, a child who looks like you, an abandoned building filled with light. A mirror you refuse to look into, a symbol, stairs, water, wolves that keeps showing up without explanation, each time pulling something deeper out of you. These aren't just dream fragments. These are psychic facts. And like myths, they don't speak in logic. They speak in symbols, archetypes, feeling. They bypass your intellect and go straight to your gut, because the dream doesn't want to tell you something. It wants you to feel it. Imagine your psyche as a vast temple, ancient and complex. Each dream is a hidden corridor beneath it. And every night, you wander these halls alone. No map, no lantern, just your instincts and echoes. And somewhere in those corridors, your shadow walks with you. Carl Jung didn't just study dreams, he lived them. He once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." But to look inside is not to see light. It is, more often than not, to walk directly into the dark. In his practice, Jung encountered countless patients whose dreams seemed chaotic on the surface, but beneath the strangeness was always structure, symbol, meaning. Like ancient myths dressed in personal imagery, he once described a patient who kept dreaming of a crumbling church. Every night, the same setting, a once grand cathedral, now decaying, stone by stone. The patient dismissed it at first, just a dream, right? But as weeks passed, the dream grew more vivid, statues falling, candles snuffed out, roof caving in. When Jung asked the man about his spiritual life, he broke down. He was a devout man who had quietly lost all faith. Not in God necessarily, but in everything. His beliefs, his role in the world, his identity. The dream wasn't symbolic because it had a crumbling church. The dream was the crumbling, the psychic structure, that once held him together was falling apart. This is the power of dreams. They don't predict the future. They reveal what is already happening, beneath the noise, beneath the performance. Dreams are honest, painfully so. They don't care what you want to believe, they care what your soul already knows. And the shadow doesn't come to harm you. It comes to show you what you've tried to forget, that you're angry, that you're not okay, that you want more, that you're afraid you'll never be enough, or maybe that you're far more powerful than you've allowed yourself to be. Because shadow isn't just darkness, it's rejected light. That's why so many people dream of flying, only to fall, or opening a door, only to find a staircase that descends forever, or running from something they never quite see. These are not just metaphors. They are inner movements, psychological landscapes made visible. Each dream is a painting drawn in the ink of your unconscious. And like every myth that ever mattered, they contain trials, monsters, guides, and gold. So what do you do when that blurred face in your dream is not a stranger, but a forgotten version of yourself knocking at the door? The first step is to listen, to stop brushing dreams aside as nonsense or random flickers of the brain. Instead, begin to see them as invitations, calls from your unconscious to awaken, to integrate, to heal. Jung taught that dreams are not just passive images, they are active agents of transformation. They speak in symbols because symbols transcend the limits of everyday language. They invite us to look beyond the surface and meet ourselves in a new way. Imagine that each dream is a message written in a secret code, one that only you can decipher. The hallway you walk down in your dream might be the path to a part of yourself you've been avoiding. The blurred face may be an aspect of your shadow self calling for recognition. The staircase, the mirror, the water, they are symbols waiting for your understanding. But this process isn't easy.
If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support.
Meeting the shadow requires courage because it means facing parts of yourself you've denied or feared. It means sitting with discomfort, uncertainty, and sometimes pain. Yet, it is precisely through this confrontation that true healing begins. When you embrace your shadow, you reclaim lost parts of your identity. You integrate the rage, the fears, the desires that once held you hostage in silence and shame. You become whole. And in that wholeness, you find freedom. Not the freedom of escaping pain, but the freedom to live authentically, with all your complexity and contradictions. This is the essence of individuation, the lifelong journey Jung described as becoming who you truly are. Dreams are guides on this journey, showing you what needs attention, what must be accepted, and what can be transformed. They reveal the invisible threads connecting your inner world to your outer life. They teach you that the story of your soul is not fixed, but evolving. So next time you wake up from a dream that lingers like a whisper, don't rush away from it. Stay with the feeling. Ask yourself, what is this dream trying to tell me? What part of myself is calling out for recognition? What truth am I avoiding? Answering these questions opens the door to deeper self-awareness and profound change. Remember, the journey into your unconscious through dreams is not a descent into darkness, but a passage into light, a light that comes from embracing your true self in all its shadows and brilliance. The path is not without challenges, but it is a path toward freedom, peace, and authenticity. As Jung said, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Are you ready to awake? Why do some dreams stay with us forever, as if etched into our bones? You wake up breathless. Your chest rises too fast, your palms damp. There's no danger in the room, yet the unease clings to you like a second skin. You sit up in bed, disoriented, the image still burning at the edge of your mind. A hallway you've never seen, yet it feels familiar. A man at the end, watching. His face blurred, but not unknown. Like the face of a memory you were never supposed to forget. Was it just a dream? And yet, it lingers. It clings. Not like a memory, but like a secret trying to surface. It haunts you throughout the day, showing up behind your eyelids when you blink too long. A whisper trapped in a cathedral, echoing through chambers of your psyche that your waking mind rarely enters. Most people dismiss their dreams. We chalk them up to stress, or too much coffee, or leftover impressions from that late-night movie. The cultural narrative says, dreams are the brain's filing cabinet, sorting, discarding, shredding irrelevant fragments of yesterday. But what if that's not true? What if dreams aren't just byproducts of neural maintenance? What if they are messages delivered in code by a deeper, older intelligence that lives inside us? Carl Jung didn't just believe this, he lived it. He saw dreams not as noise, but as signal, not as illusions, but invitations. Each one, he said, is a doorway into the unconscious. And if we dare walk through it, we might meet someone we've spent our whole lives running from, ourselves. Specifically, the part we never talk about, the part we pretend isn't there, the part he called the shadow more than darkness. The shadow isn't a villain in a horror story. It's not some dark entity lurking beneath your bed, waiting to pounce. Instead, it is the sum total of everything you've rejected, denied, or pushed deep into the recesses of your mind. It's the part of you that feels anger when you want to smile, the raw and messy desires that don't fit the neat narrative you present to the world. It's the fear, the rage, the shame, but also your untapped creativity, your unacknowledged power, and the raw truth of who you are beneath the polished surface. In dreams, the shadow often takes center stage precisely because our waking mind's filters are lowered. When the ego, the part of us that manages daily life, rests, the unconscious sends signals in symbolic language. That blurred face at the end of the hallway, it could be the shadow showing itself, neither good nor evil, but demanding acknowledgement. Crime dreams as a language. Think about this. Have you ever dreamed you did something you would never consider in waking life? Hurting someone, stealing, betraying. And when you woke, you felt a jolt of horror, confusion, even guilt. That wasn't a random figment. It was your shadow saying, I am here. You cannot ignore me forever. Or perhaps the dream is subtler. A stranger who feels like family, a place that doesn't exist, but feels like home. Recurring symbols, mirrors, water, staircases, that tug at something buried deep inside you. These images aren't meaningless. They are messages encoded in a language that predates words. Dreams communicate in archetypes and symbols, timeless forms that live in the collective unconscious Jung described, shared by all humans across cultures and eras. The temple. Within, imagine your mind as an ancient temple, weathered by time. Dreams are secret doorways and hidden corridors beneath its grand halls. Every night, you wander these shadowed spaces with no map, guided only by flickering images and feelings. Sometimes, the doorways open to forgotten chambers of strength and insight. Other times, they reveal crumbling walls, fractures in your identity or faith. Jung once recounted a patient who dreamed repeatedly of a church slowly falling into ruin. Night after night, the walls cracked, the steeple fell. This wasn't a random nightmare. It was a metaphor, the patient's psyche reflecting an internal crisis of faith, a disintegration of old beliefs and security. Why do dreams hold such power? Because they don't lie, they don't sugarcoat, they don't flatter your ego. Dreams reflect your internal world raw and unfiltered. When you try to ignore or suppress your shadow, it seeps into your dreams with increasing urgency, demanding attention. The images may disturb you, but they are also gifts, a chance to reclaim parts of yourself lost or hidden. Ignoring these signals often leads to inner conflict, anxiety, depression, or a vague sense of emptiness. The shadow's exile creates a gap, a wound that silently shapes your waking life. The invitation. What happens when you stop running? When you decide not to push that blurred face away? When you sit with the fear, the discomfort, the unknown parts? You begin a journey of transformation. By acknowledging the shadow, you reclaim your power. You begin to understand your own complexities instead of fearing them. You become more whole. The journey of integration. This journey is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming the person you truly are, not the person others want you to be. It requires deep courage. It requires patience. It means facing uncomfortable truths, dismantling old stories, and sometimes facing loneliness as you shed layers of pretense. But through this process, you build resilience. Your dreams become guides rather than hauntings. The symbols start to make sense. You feel a growing alignment between your inner world and your outer life. Listening to the dream. Practically speaking, how do you start listening? First, record your dreams. Keep a journal by your bedside. Write down not only the images, but also the emotions, the colors, the sounds, the textures. Next, reflect on the symbols. What do they stir in you? Fear, longing, shame, joy. Consider seeking patterns. Are certain images recurring? Certain feelings? Don't rush to intellectualize or dismiss. Allow the dream to speak in its own time. Sometimes, sharing your dreams with a therapist or a trusted confidant trained in Jungian or depth psychology can unlock new layers of meaning. A call to courage. Facing the shadow and integrating its messages is not a quick fix. It is an ongoing dialogue between your conscious self and the unconscious. But the alternative is to live fragmented, wearing masks, silencing parts of yourself, constantly chasing approval or fleeing discomfort. The blurred face in the hallway will keep returning until you answer. And when you do, a profound freedom awaits. The promise of wholeness. Jung believed that the shadow is not the enemy, but a vital part of our wholeness. When integrated, it becomes a source of strength and creativity. No longer hidden in the dark, those once feared aspects become allies. Your dreams transform from cryptic puzzles into sacred maps. The hallway no longer feels ominous, but like a passageway to your true self. And that blurred face, it sharpens, it smiles, it welcomes you home. If you listen closely, your dreams aren't just random. They're whispers of your soul calling you to remember who you truly are. Are you ready to listen? Not all dreams are cryptic poems. Some are nightmares. You wake up with a pounding heart, sweaty palms, a scream caught in your throat, and you ask yourself, why did I dream that? But the better question might be, why did I need to? According to Carl Jung, dreams are not random, nor are they nonsense. They are the psyche's way of restoring balance. And when something within us is deeply wounded, ignored, or split off, dreams become urgent. Nightmares are not punishments. They are messages wrapped in fire. Imagine a child who has been silenced, shamed, or neglected. That child doesn't disappear. They retreat into the unconscious. But they want to be heard, so they scream in dreams. Not with words, but with images. A burning house, a collapsing bridge, a voice you can't reach. These aren't just cinematic illusions. They are metaphors for inner reality. The burning house might be your sense of self, under attack. The bridge falling could be the loss of trust, the collapse between who you were and who you've become. The voiceless scream may reflect the part of you that has never been allowed to speak, even now. And what about recurring dreams? Those ones that follow us like ghosts. Jung believed repetition in dreams signals unintegrated trauma or unmet psychic tasks. Until the emotion is felt, honored, and understood, the psyche will keep replaying the message again and again. A woman once told me she dreamed every week of being chased down a long hallway by a faceless man. No matter how fast she ran, she never escaped, and she never saw his face. When we explored the dream, we realized the faceless man wasn't a stranger. He was her unexpressed anger, the rage she had buried in childhood, the resentment she suppressed in relationships to keep the peace. It wasn't the dream that was terrifying. It was what she was running from within herself. Dreams are not linear. They are symbolic. Jung described dream language as more akin to myth or poetry than prose. You can't interpret them like puzzles with fixed answers. You must feel them. A snake in a dream can be danger, but it can also be transformation. Shedding skin, the awakening of deep instincts. Drowning may suggest fear of being overwhelmed, but also the call to descend, to enter the emotional body. Even death, so feared, can be the symbol of rebirth, the shedding of an old identity. And yes, sometimes we dream about people who hurt us, not because we miss them, but because their wound still lives inside us. Maybe you dream about the parent who never said, "I love you," or the partner who betrayed your trust. Not because you want them back, but because the part of you that was hurt hasn't been healed. Jung called this inner split the complex, a cluster of emotional memory bound to a particular trauma. Dreams bring these complexes to the surface, often disguised. They ask us to witness what we've disowned. And when we face it, we begin the process of integration. Healing doesn't happen by erasing the past. It happens when the dream brings us back to the scene, not to relive it, but to reclaim the part of us that got left behind. Sometimes, the dream offers more than just a symbol. It offers a guide, a strange animal that appears at the edge of the woods, a child who takes your hand, an old man sitting by the fire. Jung referred to these as psychopomps, archetypal figures who guide us between realms. between conscious and unconscious, between wounding and wisdom. They often appear when we're ready to face something we thought we couldn't survive. They say nothing in dreams is accidental. Even the silence has meaning. And perhaps the greatest symbol of all is the one we always ignore, the dreamer themselves. Where were you standing? Were you powerless or in control? Were you watching or acting? The role we play in the dream reveals our relationship to our own inner world. Are we a victim, always fleeing? Or have we begun to turn toward the fire, to listen, to feel? Dreams do not flatter, they confront. But in that confrontation is the seed of transformation. Jung once said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And dreams are how that darkness knocks, not to scare us, but to be seen. We spend our lives asking the outside world for answers. What should I do? Who should I be? What does this all mean? But the real answers do not shout from the outside, they whisper from within. Carl Jung believed that dreams are the psyche's spontaneous response to life. When we are lost, they offer orientation. When we are divided, they offer reintegration. When we are numb, they offer feeling, but only if we listen. In the end, dreams are not just messages, they are conversations. Between the self you show the world and the self you buried, between the present you and the forgotten child within, between your conscious will and your unconscious truth. And this is where the transformation begins. The alchemy of attention. Jung said, "The dream is a little hidden door in the innermost and most secret recesses of the soul." To listen to it is to begin the process of alchemy, not in the medieval sense of turning metal to gold, but in the psychological sense, turning unconscious material into conscious understanding. This isn't about dream interpretation as a clever guessing game. It's about dream relationship. Every symbol, every emotion, every image is a part of you. Even the ones you reject, especially the ones you reject. The monster, maybe it's the power you've denied. The storm, maybe it's the grief you've never cried. The endless stairs, maybe it's your longing to ascend, to grow, to transcend, to climb out of what's been holding you. We must learn to feel a dream before we explain it, because explanation is easy, but transformation is not. The psyche knows before. Have you ever had a dream? And only years later did it finally make sense. That's not failure, that's timing. The psyche operates outside linear logic. It moves in spirals, not straight lines. A symbol that made no sense at 22 might become your mirror at 35. This is the quiet genius of the unconscious. It plants seeds, and it waits. There's a dream I once had. I was underwater, holding a child, unable to rise. I woke up confused, haunted, afraid. Years later, I realized the child was me. The dream wasn't about drowning, it was about rescue. Dreams tell you what you're not ready to say. They tell the truth you don't yet have words for. And the more we cultivate this relationship, the more we listen, the more we dialogue, the more the dream world changes, too. At first, you may be a passive observer, but over time, you may begin to act, to choose, to heal. Some even report lucid dreams where they finally speak to the child, or hold the hand of the wounded part, or confront the shadow and say, "I see you." This is what Jung called integration, not perfection, not purity, but wholeness. You do not need to erase your darkness to become whole. You need to make peace with it. Dreams as sacred mirrors. We live in a world obsessed with productivity, clarity, and control, but dreams invite us to surrender, to feel, to allow the irrational to be meaningful. They are the last sacred space we still carry inside. No algorithm can write them. No machine can replace them. They are uniquely, wildly, and deeply human. In a world that tries to define you by your status, appearance, or performance, dreams remember who you really are. Not the costume, not the wound, but the soul beneath. Every night, you return to that soul. And every night, it asks only one thing. Will you listen? Final reflection. Dreams will never hand you a map, but they will offer you a compass. One that points not north, but inward. The more we honor our dreams, the more we uncover what Jung called the self, the totality of who we are, conscious and unconscious. And this is the journey of a lifetime. Not to become someone new, but to remember who you've always been. You are not broken. You are layered. You are not lost. You are unfolding. You are not merely awake during the day. You are awakening in your dreams. Let your dreams be your teachers. Let your wounds be your maps. And let your symbols be your stars. You are already on the path. All you have to do is close your eyes and listen. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Carl Jung.